us pray that peace be now restored to the world, and that God will preserve it always. These proceedings are closed.
United Nations victory has been won. The war is over. Peace is here.
A crowd of 2 million review the greatest parade of victorious arms ever witnessed. This is the news that electrified the world. Unconditional surrender of a new world of peace.
Today the guns are silent. The skies no longer rain death. The entire world lies quietly at peace.
American infantrymen once again hit the road toward Korea's capital city of Seoul.
U.S. Marines were ordered into the Dominican Republic. As a rebel, meanwhile, the U.S. Marines have also taken center stage in South Vietnam.
This is what the war in Vietnam is all about.
First wave of Marines landed at Grenada. In courses, some 1,200 U.S. Marines would land at Grenada for several days.
Civilians were terrified during last night's heavy bombing raid.
Breaking story, President Bush's decision to neutralize Panama's General Manuel Noriega.
Saddam Hussein's reign of terror is over.
Of the war in Iraq.
Since World War II, we have seen a dramatic escalation in United States military actions around the globe, ranging from missile strikes and rapid troop deployments to all-out wars and occupations. The reasons for these military interventions have varied, each involving complex geopolitical interests in different parts of the world at different times in U.S. history. But the public face of these wars has not reflected this complexity. Over the past 5 decades, deliberation and debate about U.S. military actions have largely been left to a closed circle of elite Washington policymakers, politicians and bureaucrats whose rationales for war have come into public view only with the release of leaked or declassified documents, often years after the bombs have been dropped and the troops have come home. In real time, officials have explained and justified these military operations to the American people by withholding crucial information about the actual reasons and potential costs of military action, again and again choosing to present an easier version of war's reality, a steady and remarkably consistent storyline designed not to inform, but to generate and maintain support and enthusiasm for war. Nationally syndicated columnist and author Norman Solomon began to notice the basic contours of this official storyline during the war in Vietnam.
À l'adolescence, j'ai suivi la guerre au Vietnam pendant son escalade. J'ai aussi vu les images à la télévision.
In combat, there are no niceties. A dead enemy soldier is simply an object to be examined for documents, then removed as quickly as possible, sometimes crudely.
Les personnes que je connaissais ont commencé à partir pour le Vietnam sous le drapeau américain. Au fil du temps, et surtout à l'approche de mon service militaire, je me suis interrogé sur la sincérité des déclarations émanant de la Maison-Blanche et des officiels de Washington.
We fight for the principle of self-determination, that the people of South Vietnam should be able to choose their own course, choose it in free election, without violence, without terror, and without fear.
Grâce à cette réflexion, j'ai commencé à me demander si on nous racontait plus de mensonges que de vérités.
In the years since, Solomon has focused his attention on a set of striking parallels between the selling of the Vietnam War and the way presidents have rallied public support for subsequent military actions.
Quand je pensais à la guerre du Vietnam, comme je l'ai souvent fait, j'avais l'étrange impression, même si le nom des pays n'était pas le même et les circonstances bien sûr différentes, qu'il y avait des parallèles qui exigeaient qu'on les étudie. Rarement, voire jamais, une guerre ne tombe du ciel. Il faut d'abord poser les fondations, puis construire le dossier, en employant souvent de la duperie.
In the background was the growing struggle between two great powers to shape the post-war world. Already an iron curtain had dropped around Poland, Hungary, Yugoslavia, Bulgaria.
It can't happen here? Well, this is what it looks like if it should. Chief of Police is hustled off to jail. Public utilities are seized by fifth columnist editor who operates under a free press. He goes to jail too.
Fighters will account for some of the enemy, but some will get through to your home.
The use of propaganda to arouse public support for war is not new. Leaders throughout history have turned to propaganda to transform populations understandably wary of the costs of war into war's most ardent supporters, invoking images of nationalism and channeling fear and anger toward perceived enemies and threats. And in the United States since World War II, government attempts to win public support for military actions have followed a similar pattern.
That we are living in an era marked by the growth of socialism, its basic godless philosophy.
Lying. Dirty.
Its goal of world conquest.
Shrewd. Godless.
Its insidious tactics.
Murderous. Determined.
And its cunning strategy.
It's an international criminal conspiracy.
On utilise le même genre de message aujourd'hui, et les techniques sont souvent identiques.
States like these and their terrorist allies constitute an axis of evil, arming to threaten the peace of the world. These are barbaric people, servants of evil, the cult of evil.
A monumental struggle of good versus evil. But good will prevail.
Que ce soit l'Union soviétique ou Al-Qaïda, ils offrent une sorte de légitimation des plans de guerre américains. Sans oublier la comparaison entre le leader ennemi et Hitler.
President Bush called Saddam Hussein a little Hitler again today.
We're dealing with Hitler revisited. Bin Laden and his terrorist allies have made their intentions as clear as Lenin and Hitler before them.
Nous ne recevons pas les informations qui nous aideraient à mettre les images en perspective.
Mad dog of the Middle East. I find he's not only a barbarian, but he's flaky.
The drug-related indicted dictator of Panama.
And to support their claim that Noriega was out of control, ghoulish evidence of satanic practices with dead animals that one official called kinky.
Saddam Hussein is a homicidal dictator who is addicted to weapons of mass destruction.
Comme le disait autrefois Aldous Huxley, nous avons souvent plus de pouvoir en omettant des informations au lieu de mentir. Le gouvernement américain, par exemple, a souvent directement aidé les dictateurs qu'il veut renverser aujourd'hui. Cette sélectivité de l'histoire est une forme très efficace de propagande.
This selective view of reality buttressed